to Third Phase of Moon. My name's Blake Cousins, and in this episode, we're going to Skype all the way from Auckland, New Zealand with John J., who managed to capture this amazing UFO over the Auckland city. Now let's get to John J. and ask him some questions right now. Hey, thanks for joining us here at Third Phase of Moon, John J.
My pleasure.
So tell me, what were you thinking and how did you come across this incredible object in the sky?
Well, I was just playing with my kids up at this park area, and I just noticed out of the corner of my eye this funny looking shape going across the sky, and it just hung there. And I'm thinking, I didn't know what to think of it at first, but hard to say. I don't know.
So can you tell me, John, why do you want to remain in hidden disguise and have us blur out your face?
Well, something like this, I mean, it can get quite a lot of publicity, and that's something I just don't want to have. I mean, I've got a young family, and I just not feeling very comfortable with my face out there, to be honest.
Well, it's quite understandable with sightings like this and the people and the hate that goes around on the internet. I could understand your plight. So back to this amazing video that you captured. Have you ever seen any lights or strange aircraft over the Auckland skies in the past?
Well, to be honest, there has been a bit of talk around the neighborhood with lights and strange things in the sky. And that's why I was kind of having a look out when I was playing with my kid, And luckily, I got that shot. From now on, I'm going to be actually actively going out there and seeing if I can get any more of these sightings, and sending it through to Third Phase of the Moon.
Well, the video you sent us, John, is going viral right now all over the world, and they've requested close-up footage of your object in the sky, and we're going to look at this right now. If you've captured anything amazing like John J., you send it to us at Third Phase of Moon via Skype or Facebook. Thanks again, John J., for joining us here at Third Phase.
No worries, guys. My pleasure. I'll be having a look out and keep my eyes in the sky, and I'll send you whatever I have. Thanks again.
My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time. Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. We, on August 4th, asked the world to keep an eye out for a UFO event that would be spotted by millions from around the world. We have an exclusive interview coming up on Third Phase of an amazing UFO sighting, along with some evidence and photographs. So let's get to that interview right now. All right, we're here with Joe Kiernan, all the way from South Carolina, who managed to capture this amazing daytime sighting on August 4th. Thanks for being with us at Third Phase of Moon.
Thank you, and welcome.
All right, well, tell us and our viewers here on YouTube how you were able to come across this sighting and what were you doing at the time?
I was just outside in the yard, just getting a few things together, ready to mow the lawn, and as I was walking in the house, out of the right-hand corner of my eye here, I just had a bright flash of light. I looked over, and the only thing was was a cloud right there, and I guess I just happened to look at the right moment, and I saw it come out of the side of the cloud and go back in, and I kept watching it for another minute, and it kept doing it, and I went inside and grabbed the wife and grabbed the camera, and we set it up, and we watched it for approximately 3 hours.
Fantastic, and you managed to capture something that these lights are doing spectacular maneuvers, like zigzag maneuvers. You don't get to see conventional aircraft doing this kind of thing. Do you have any idea what it could have possibly been?
No, I really don't know what it is. We do see helicopters, we do see planes. I've never seen anything do this before. It was going from cloud to cloud. It almost looked playful. It was just bouncing around from cloud to cloud, going in and out, circling around. It never came any lower than the cloud. It pretty much stayed around the same altitude and just moved around from cloud to cloud.
So you sent me some photographs that we're looking at right now of military helicopters surveying the area that you were in. Are they a common routine of military in your neighborhood?
No, it's far from the norm. I'd say on the average, maybe once a month, we do hear them fly right down the beach or right up the beach, just 2 or 3 miles the way the crow flies to the ocean. And we hear them go up and down the beach from time to time. This was a little different. They were immediately over my house and went to the exact location where we were filming this thing in the clouds the day prior. And it circled the entire area where it was, and it kept circling around there and then took off. The helicopters were quite low.
Very interesting. You know, we on Third Phase of Moon on August 3rd made an announcement that we have sensitive material in regards to UFO sightings that were going to happen on August 4th. And it's quite amazing to me that you actually captured something on August 4th, right?
That is fact, yes. The only difficulty I had was I came across that video today, August 6th. August 6th. I thought that video was shot in retrospect. I thought it was after the fact, an accumulation of other postings from that day. I was a little taken back when I saw you posted it the day prior on the 3rd. That's incredible to me. You do come across some incredible information, and I commend you for it, and I appreciate it, and that is why I'm talking to you now.
Hey, well, Joe, I really appreciate you sharing your amazing footage with us at Third Phase of Moon.
The pleasure's all mine. Thank you very much.
If anybody out there has captured anything amazing like Joe, send it to us via Skype. My name is Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time.
I'm looking for it, and I didn't see it.
I know. It's in that cloud right now. It's in that big puffy one right there. There it is. You see it? Get the fuck out of here.
Third Phase of Moon. My name's Blake Cousins. This morning, I received a Skype from Omar Arar, all the way from London. He witnessed an amazing UFO as a live BBC broadcast was happening. Thanks for joining us at Third Phase of Moon.
Thanks for having me.
Alright, tell me exactly what happened and what you witnessed as you're watching this live broadcast on the BBC.
I was sitting down with my wife, we were just watching the show. And I always keep my eye on the skies anyway, because I enjoy looking for UFOs and everything like that. And I noticed something passing this woman's shoulder. I noticed it the first time, and I paused the TV and I rewinded it again. And I played it, and I noticed it. And it was like really obvious, you know, this bright light zooming across her shoulder. It was brilliant.
We're taking a look at this video right now, and it is quite impressive. Can you tell me, do you think it's some kind of bird or a shooting star or some kind of UFO?
It's definitely a UFO. Definitely. It couldn't be a bird, couldn't be a plane, nothing like that.
Tell me, Omar, how did you come across Third Phase of Moon?
So I've been looking at your stuff for quite a while now. Found you on YouTube and really enjoying your videos.
Thanks again, Omar, for sharing this amazing footage.
Thank you.
My name's Blake Cousins, and if you've captured anything amazing, send it to us. We'll see you next time.
Yes, they're expensive to build and run at the moment, but the cost is coming down all the time. But on one thing, you'll never, ever run at the moment, but the cost is coming down all the time. But on one thing,
Yesterday, I received a Skype from Stelliano Monofis from New Jersey. He claims he shot an amazing video of a purple aircraft in the sky. Stelliano, thanks for joining us here at Third Phase of Moon.
Thank you, Blake.
Can you tell our YouTube audience what you captured that day when you're at the beach?
Well, it was down in Florida at St. Pete's Beach, and there was a big halo up in the sky as we were lying on the beach. So I took my iPhone and I videotaped the halo. And that's all that we really saw, which was pretty impressive by itself. Later on, when we got back to our home and I uploaded the video on my computer, there was a purple star right along the halo on the rim, but it wasn't a sun glare or anything. You could tell it just stayed right there. It was pretty amazing because you couldn't see it with the human eye. It only showed up on the phone.
We're looking at this video right now. Can you tell me, Stelliano, what kind of aircraft this possibly could have been if it weren't a UFO, if you could explain that to us?
Oh, I don't know if it's any aircraft. You see the video yourself. Like I said, I didn't see it while we were there. I only saw the video. That's all I saw. The purple star. It only showed up on the video.
Celiano, tell us, how did you come across Third Phase of Moon?
Surfing on the internet, on YouTube, and a lot of the videos and a lot of the previous stories that you had that you uploaded, I was watching and I came across your website.
Tell me, have we ever met at any other time besides today via Third Phase of Moon and Skype? And what would you have to say to the debunkers that say this is some kind of artificial interview?
Well, everybody behind the computer, Blake, says a lot of things. Everybody has an opinion about everything. Instead of giving your opinion, how about opening your eyes? Because what you guys are doing is fantastic. You guys are actually out there. You're on the fly. You're on the net. I sent you an email, what was it, a couple days ago? You got back to me. We already did an interview. You're ready to put it up. You know what? That shows how honest you are and how straightforward everything you're doing is. So to all you debunkers out there, you know what? Open your eyes, because you're walking and sleeping at the same time.
Very well said, Celiano. We at Third Phase of Moon have blown this up and analyzed it very carefully, and from what we can tell, it is not a star, and it is not a reflection off the sun. This is absolutely a genuine UFO sighting. If you've captured anything amazing, like Celiano, you send it to us at Third Phase of Moon via Skype or Twitter. My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again. Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Today, Bill Bryson, our special guest, he captures amazing video of the moon, unlike anything like you've ever seen before, in vivid color. Welcome to Third Phase of Moon, Bill.
Hey, thanks for having me, Blake. I appreciate it.
Well, these pictures and video that you're capturing of the moon, tell me, how do you grab these pictures and how long have you been doing this?
I've been interested in the moon for a long time, but it wasn't until Jose exposed me to his moon rising video when I bought the DVD a number of years ago, and I've been real interested since then. And in September, I went out and bought a Celestron Nexstar 8SE telescope, and I was bent on doing high definition video. And I found a camera, a Chinese camera that worked. Matter of fact, it was the only camera that did high definition. And through a lot of experimentation, I've been able to figure out how to marry the right lens combination with the camera to get some just outstanding, breathtaking video of the moon.
So, Bill, what would you have to say to the debunkers that saying you're adding color in or putting Photoshop or doing some kind of special effect? Because it really looks like in this video that there are oceans and, you know, green mountain pastures on the moon. It's quite incredible.
It really is. I'm not doing anything. This camera that I have is very, very sensitive to color. Most astronomers will, and most cameras are designed, and you ratchet down the color and you just show a gray moon. I could ratchet down the color and show a gray moon too, but I ratchet the color up to about 30–40%. And then I kind of work the contrast and brightness, you know, just to get the right, get a good picture. I don't ever adjust the tint or anything, so the color that you're seeing is just amplified. It's what's on there.
So I've spoken with Jose for many years, and he believes that the moon is made up with organic life. Do you believe yourself that these are oceans and green mountain pastures that we're seeing here?
I think that there's an atmosphere on the moon, and I think that that there's some kind of vegetation. There's some kind of when I did a segment of the moon around Escartes, and I show the mountains, and they're kind of brown and green, you know, and then then Jose goes in there and he looks at the same things, the same color, you know. I'm not doing anything to the color. I'm not fiddling with it or anything. I believe that there's an atmosphere on the moon, and I believe that there's color on the moon. I believe that we've seen that in the Apollo, some of the Apollo shots, some of the 16mm film that came back showed clearly there was color on the moon.
So what you're saying is, right now, NASA is covering up the biggest unknown secret to man at the moment, that they're not trying to tell people right now that, you know, that the moon is just gray?
I think that there's a cover-up. I think that they don't want people to know that the moon has color. They don't want people to look at it. And if they can present it as a gray dead planet, the astronomers are going to present it as a gray dead planet.
You know, Bill, this has been an amazing and an enlightening conversation we've had right now. And these photos and video are absolutely amazing. Thanks for joining us here at Third Phase of Moon.
Thanks for having me, Blake.
All right. My name is Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time. Third Phase of Moon. Just recently, there was some information that came into us in regards to September 22nd, UFO sightings over the world. Right now, we're going to go over the first video that we received from Southampton, UK. And joining us again is Sean. Hey Sean, thanks for joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon.
Hey Blake, it's good to be back with you. Thank you for having me.
Sean, can you tell me about this night in particular, what you were doing, and when did you see this object in the night skies?
Yeah, well, basically I heard about you guys talking about the 22nd UFO event over at Third Phase of Moon, and basically just had my eyes open for it. It was about 5:40 a.m. in the morning, and got out of bed and just went over to the window, had a little look, sat there for a few minutes, and then just noticed this object in the sky, and it was really big and really bright.
You know, some people over here, Sean, will claim that this is some kind of Chinese lantern. What would you have to say to that?
This was like nowhere Chinese lantern. I have seen loads of Chinese lanterns, and it was not a Chinese lantern. I live about 3 miles away from an airport, so I'm used to seeing low-flying aircraft, but again, it just nothing like that. It was big and bright. It almost kind of had almost like 3 diamonds, but attached to each other. It was strange. I've seen the ISS a few times as well, keen sky watcher, so I know what to look for, and I know what's what. And this was not a Chinese lantern or a plane or the ISS or a helicopter.
Hey Sean, I really want to thank you again for joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon.
Well, thanks again for having me, Blake. It's good to work with you again, and I'll keep you posted on anything else that crosses the path of my skies. An eye on the sky, people.
And if anybody out there has captured anything amazing in regards to UFOs, send it to us at Third Phase of Moon via Skype or Facebook. My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time. 2012 has been a busy year for UFO sightings over Los Angeles. These are just but a few encounters that we're going to look at right now.
Out of the front of my house, and then I curling up by the edge of my city. I took 2 orbs, never going higher or lower, just flying across the city.
There is no magic. There's no magic here. At least there's some satanic magic maybe. But there's no trickery going on.
Yeah? You think it was?
I hope so.
And there was travel happening. And I didn't want to say anything to anybody. I was just looking at it.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it real or not?
The way we saw it was like a star at night. It looked really far away. It just shined.
I'm more concerned about the people that me too.
Things are happening around the world, and have your cameras ready. And if you've captured anything amazing in regards to UFOs, you could contact us via Skype or Facebook. My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time. Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. My name's Blake Cousins, and today we're in Waimea country, here with the person who claims to capture interdimensional beings on his camera. Thanks for joining us here on Third Phase of Moon, Sean.
How you doing?
All right, Sean, so you're going to share with us some amazing photos that you've captured with your cell phone, correct?
Yep, all on my iPhone.
All on your iPhone. Okay, tell me about this first image that we're looking at, the Invisible Man.
Okay, the Invisible Man photo was taken about 2 days ago. I was staking out a house through the bushes, and I took a picture of a car. And after I took the photo, you know, I always look at my photos because I always see stuff. And sure enough, he's pretty clear. I mean,
you have some more photos. Actually, you've taken thousands of these images, correct, in the past?
Yeah. I don't have a choice anymore. They're in them, you know.
So there's this spirit in this photo, which you say looks like it's a period piece. You can see the wardrobe from the 1700s. Go ahead and explain about this.
Okay, yeah, the photo of Saddle Road of that image looks to be like a Hawaiian monarch or something like that, a couple hundred years old at least. I got that photo just driving down Saddle Road and took a picture of the tree line, and lo and behold, he was in there. And alongside of him, there's a cowboy that I'll also show you the photo of, but incredible.
You say you have this gift for capturing interdimensional beings on your iPhone. You're going to do a demonstration for us right here at Third Phase of Moon right now?
Sure, I'll try.
Okay, well, let's give it a shot.
Okay.
All right, we're going over the pictures just taken moments ago, and we're looking through the images. Do we see anything as of yet here, Sean?
I see one coming in now, yeah. I can see one manipulating the background. You can kind of see the shadow right there. I don't know if your guys' eyes are trained enough as mine, but...
You know, Sean, my eyes aren't trained on exactly looking for how you specifically see these things. We're going to take it on the computer, enhance the imagery, and pull up anything that comes up off these photographs.
That would be a good idea. I'm really sensitive to it, so my eyes pick up stuff that most people can't see. So, yeah, not at first, especially on the outside in the lighting, but definitely when you get indoors and do it on your computer, you should have no problem.
Hey, Sean, I really want to thank you for joining us right here on Third Phase of Moon and sharing your amazing photos with us.
Not a problem.
If you captured anything amazing in regards to UFOs or paranormal activity, you could contact us at Third Phase of Moon via Skype or Facebook. My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time. All right, thanks again. Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. My name's Blake Cousins, and our special guest, nuclear physicist and godfather of UFOlogy, Stanton Friedman. Stanton, thanks for joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon.
It's my privilege. I may even find what third phase of the moon looks like. It means...
All right, Stanton, let's get to it. You've been involved with this for over 54 years. What, in your opinion, is on the topic of the global cosmic Watergate and the hopeful disclosure? Do you think disclosure will ever happen?
I think the only way it will happen is if somebody like the equivalent of the New York Times or the Washington Post did what Woodward and Bernstein did to the political Watergate. In other words, devote their resources. It's real easy to blow the lid off this thing. 6 months would do it because the evidence is overwhelming that there's a cover-up and that there are aliens visiting and so forth. The problem is that we have a resistance on the part of the media. They think that, well, if this were true, they would know about it because it would be very important, and they don't, so it must not be, and why waste any time or money? It did take money to get Watergate out in the open, as you recall. So I'm not an optimist, and also I better surprise you, or maybe not, by saying I don't think everything should be disclosed. I think there are national security matters here. I worked under security for 14 years. Why should the United States put data out on the table, maybe new technological data, if the Russians and Chinese and others don't also put out their data? That doesn't make sense to me. You never hand your potential enemies new technology to use in case they feel like it. So I think we do need to recognize that a new era has begun for mankind. That is, we're not the big shots on the block anymore. And some people don't like that. No government wants its people to think of themselves as earthlings. We're still in the nationalist era, you know. And so there are real barriers to it, but I certainly don't think everything ought to be dumped out on the table. I mean, black budgets are running, depending on who you believe, $30 to $50 billion a year. There's a lot going on, and some of that is legitimately classified.
With the advent of cell phone technology and people having cameras readily available to them, we've been having mass sightings sent to us right here at Third Phase of Moon. Do you think there might be a reason for this? And are they preparing for invasion?
I don't, you know, it's not easy to judge how much activity is going on. I've been checking my audiences around the world for years and years. And typically at the end of my lecture, of course, I would never ask at the beginning, 10% believe that they've seen a flying saucer. But when I ask how many of you reported it, typically it's only 10% of the 10%. And the biggest reason being they think I was some kind of a nut. So it's very hard to judge what's going on. I mean, MUFON is getting 600 plus cases a month. And yet I've had people just the other day, somebody said, well, how come we haven't had any sightings recently? There's plenty of sightings. You don't hear about them. And so if there's a bump in the curve and there's some good coverage on the media, you may get other people willing to come forward. But until that happens, most of them sit back. So we don't have a very good picture at all of how much is happening all over the world. And I still get people saying, well, how come they're only seen in the United States? They're not. I've lectured in 18 other countries besides all 50 states and 10 Canadian provinces. And everywhere I go, people have seen UFOs.
Very interesting, and it is very amazing what you're saying here. You know, you broke the Roswell case in the 1970s, and there are people and eyewitnesses coming forward to this day. Do you think there are cover-ups on the crash retrievals? And, you know, what is your topic on the whole?
Well, let's face it, most of the original witnesses are dead. And if they come forward, that would be a truly remarkable event. But occasionally we get somebody new. We get somebody saying, oh, my uncle told me he's getting old and he wants, you know, doesn't want to go to his grave keeping the secret. But Roswell is still attracting big crowds at every festival, you know, early July. I'll be there this year, as I was last year and the year before and so forth. And I use it as an example. The other day I gave a talk in Texas, Laredo, Texas. And it had originally been canceled because the person in charge said, well, nobody's interested in this stuff, guys. So they canceled it. Then a good group of serious investigators down there came forward, and we had over 600 people the other day. And she was there, the one who had canceled it, and was astonished. You know, these people are all interested? Well, I will guarantee you they're all interested. And I have had as many as 2,000 people to a lecture. So don't tell me nobody's interested. And often the campus will tell me that's the biggest crowd we've had, you know, for an off-campus speaker coming here. So the interest is there. The fear of ridicule is still there. And if they stress my professional background as a scientist, you know, working for Westinghouse, GE, General Motors, etc., and on far-out classified, eventually canceled programs. That was my specialty, canceled programs, nuclear airplanes, fission rockets, fusion rockets, that sort of thing. Then they'll show up figuring, well, GE and Westinghouse don't hire nuts, do they? Well, maybe they do, I don't know. But in other words, this laughter curtain is real. And it takes a lot of effort to lift that, to get people to speak up and think up, and especially the ancient academics and fossilized physicists who think that the only place research gets done is in academia. Right? Wrong. And just to give you an example, when I was working on nuclear airplanes a long time ago in 1958 for General Electric, our budget that year was $100 million. We employed 3,500 people, of whom 1,100 were engineers and scientists. That was a lot of money for 1958, you know, and we're not talking 3 professors and 20 grad students. We're talking 3,500 people with 1,100 engineers and scientists. So there's a lot going on. We didn't build a nuclear-powered airplane. We learned a lot about all kinds of technology. So you need to be very careful in making any kind of conclusions about this phenomenon, because you don't know what's going on underneath the surface.
You know, that makes perfect sense, Stanton. You know, it's speculated the reason for disclosure, and it no longer needs to be legal, is because, you know, all the technology is in private companies. What do you think of this, and how do you think this could be resolved?
Well, I think it's wrong on two counts. Who cares what anybody speculates about this? You can throw darts at a dartboard with yes, no, maybe on it, you know. I think most of the big research projects were done by private companies under government contract, not on their own. That aircraft nuclear propulsion program was sponsored by the Atomic Energy Commission and the United States Air Force. It was done by General Electric, Pratt Whitney, also Convair Fort Worth. But Uncle Sam owned the store, so to speak. So I don't think so. And I would hope, as a matter of fact, that technology developed with government funding should make its way out when it doesn't violate security to do so. For example, suppose we figured out a new way to detect aircraft moving in the atmosphere. Should we really be putting that out on the table? I don't think so. You don't want your enemies to have that data. So it isn't just a question of greed on the part of industry. And I know from I've spoken at over 600 colleges, and I know some of the academics look down their nose at industry. I've had two different people tell me that if Roswell really happened, Stan, they'd have had to pull half the physicists out of the colleges in the country to deal with that. And I just laughed. That's absurd. Los Alamos was employing 7,000 people at that time. There are a whole bunch of other major laboratories with very competent people who had security clearances, who were readily available to have material sent to them and so forth. So, you know, it's false reasoning and based on no evidence whatsoever.
You wrote this book a few years back, Captured, about the Betty and Barney Hill abduction that fascinated me when I was a child. What's your take on the abduction phenomenon, and is there an alien agenda?
Yeah, most of the work on the book was done by Kathleen Marden, Betty's niece. My name is first because the publisher said it'll sell more, Stan. What do you say to a publisher when he tells you that? You don't say, well, we don't want it to sell. You can hardly do that. I think that's an outstanding case primarily because of Dr. Benjamin Simon, not just because the Hills were respectable people, and they certainly didn't intend to get any publicity for it. That was somebody violating confidence. But Dr. Simon was a world-class expert on treating what today we would call post-traumatic stress disorder. He ran a hospital with 3,000 beds for war veterans coming back from the Second World War. You know, your buddy's head gets blown off next to you. It's a little hard to integrate that into your life. And he didn't know anything about flying saucers, but he knew a lot about getting people to relive experiences to find out what happened when there's missing time. You know, the guy with his buddy's head blown off has blocked it out. But if you integrate it properly and so forth, you can find out what happened. And Dr. Simon was the star of an Army movie, Let There Be Light, showing how he worked with war veterans. And they're still coming back from war with PTSD. It was shell-shock war veterans was the expression back then, but, you know, PTSD sounds so much more sophisticated. Anyway, he has said in writing, he's dead now, so we can't say it vocally, that the emotional intensity for Betty and Barney, these were separate sessions now, they each had about 10, was so intense that it matched that of the war veterans that he'd worked with. He had to stop one session each because he felt they wasn't sure they could handle it. The emotional intensity was so great. So yes, Earthlings are being abducted by aliens. And many people find that objectionable because nobody has their permission. And there are many people claiming abductions who haven't been abducted. And you don't just run off and find you a nice parlor hypnotist to say, oh, I'll find out what happened. It's got to be done properly, carefully. Matter of fact, Kathleen is working on a new book about alien abductions. And I've read most of it, not quite all of it yet. So I think aliens are abducting. Now, why they're doing it, they're obviously trying to get information, judging by the tests they seem to run. about Earthlings. But whether it's a class project, I mean, when I was a kid in high school, I cut up a frog. It wasn't because I was intrinsically interested in frogs. And there were millions of kids who cut up frogs to find out a little about anatomy. So it's very hard to judge what's really going on. Is this a thesis project? You know, who knows? Maybe they're looking for Earthlings to grab to steal a certain kind of genetic material from. I don't know. Now, you could be a noisy negativist and say, Stan, they're going to clobber us, and they're just getting all the data before they do that. You know, like the turkeys on November 15th undoubtedly think that they're being well taken care of. Look, they get all the food they can eat, more than they can eat. You get water, they're kept warm when it's cold outside. Obviously, nice guys. And then it's Thanksgiving. Too bad. So what I'm saying is you need to be really careful about jumping to conclusions about these things. And it is important that people be helped, but not in ways that are going to create problems for them. Neither Kathleen nor I believe one should immediately rush to a friendly hypnotist. There's more to the story than that.
Now, do you think the U.S. is still controlling and imposing the global cover-up of other governments?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I think there is cooperation and money talks. There was a case down in Brazil, the Varginha case, and I happened to be down there when news it hit the headlines. And there were stories that apparently the U.S. came along and offered enough money to grab the wreckage and what was left. And I don't know. I think, remember, all governments have a common interest, surprising as it may sound, in not telling us what's going on. The 6 reasons I give for the cover-up apply to all governments. First, you want to figure out how the darn things work. They make wonderful weapons delivery and defense systems, outmaneuver anything we got. So the world budget right now for things military this year is $1 trillion. So that's an important consideration for most governments. The second problem is you don't want the other guy to know that you know that he knows. What if he figures out how they work before you do? You know, it's the old weapon, counter-weapon, bigger spears, stronger shields, that sort of thing. So you can't tell anybody because you don't want them to know what you know, and you don't want to tell anybody what you know because you don't want them to know that. The third problem is, if you were to make an announcement, what would happen? You know, say the Queen and the Pope, my 2 favorite, highly trusted people around the world, about the same age, all you can say. What if they were to say, indeed, the word is that Earth is being visited by extraterrestrial spacecraft? What would happen? Mental hospital admissions would go up. The stock market would go down. That's never good for many people. And there'd be an immediate push, I think, on the part of the younger generation for a new view of ourselves, instead of as Americans, Canadians, Greeks, Peruvians, whatever, as Earthlings. I mean, from an alien viewpoint, we are all Earthlings. We don't seem to like that very much, if you notice. No government wants that. Nobody in power wants to give up power. There's a fourth problem. Pat Robertson has loudly proclaimed that we are the only intelligent life in the universe, which I find a very strange notion. And that all this UFO stuff is the work of the devil. I haven't seen any signs of that either. But he'd be up the creek without a religious paddle if we were told the truth. There's another peculiar one, goes back to something you asked earlier. People say, look, Stan, if they're coming here and we're not going there, they're obviously ahead of us. That means that soon there'll be new methods of energy production. There goes the oil companies. New methods of ground and air transport. There goes those companies. Economic chaos. And I say, yeah, there's always chaos when there's progress, but you know, there aren't many buggy whip manufacturers anymore, and we've survived that. The last reason for the cover-up, I think, is that I have on 7 different occasions been told of situations in which aircraft went up, military aircraft went up to chase UFOs and didn't come back. And nobody's been told about that. And if I've heard of 7 instances, there's going to be a heck of a lot more than that. And these are people not seeking publicity. I told to one guy who was sent up, and he did come back because his guns weren't loaded. He tried to shoot the thing down. People forget that in 1952, there were orders given to military pilots. Shoot them down if they don't land when instructed to do so. That sounds a little silly. How do you tell an alien, get your craft the heck on the ground, so we can look at it? That doesn't sound very reasonable. So those reasons are enough to keep most countries away from doing anything that would change the balance of power. That's what's happening in the world.
While I got you here, do you have any classified information you want to share with our viewers in regards to UFOs right here on Third Phase of Moon?
If I had classified information at this late date, I certainly had plenty of it when I worked in industry. I wouldn't have shared it then, and if I had it now, I wouldn't share it either. And I think that's why some people talk to me. They trust me enough. I had a guy call me and say, "How come you're still alive?" I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, you're saying the government's lying and covering up." And I said, "Yes, but anybody who listens to me know that I don't want everything out on the table, and I may be doing exactly what they want, getting them ready, getting the public ready for when the big disclosure comes." But think about it. What happens when we admit that people have been abducted and the citizens say, "Can't you protect me?" That's a sticky wicket when you get down to it,
Stanton, I have to ask, have you ever seen a UFO for yourself with your own eyes?
No, I never have. Kathleen and I were being interviewed for television talking about the Hill case out in the middle of nowhere in New Hampshire at night, dark. And suddenly the cameraman of all people says, "Hey, what's that over your heads?" What? You never have that happen to you. I've been interviewed a load of times, never have anybody, the cameraman, interrupt the process. We looked up behind us. There were some points of light in the sky, one after the other, left to right. I don't know what the heck it was. We later figured they were filming this with our backs, the objects up there. We later found out other people at the place where we were staying had also seen UFOs that day. We think, not sure, that it was a National Guard group dropping battlefield flares. And we don't know, but that seemed a decent explanation under the circumstances. That's as close as I've come. Unfortunately, I cannot say by personal experience, those aliens were nice guys, or I saw that saucer move. No such luck.
If other countries from around the world started to disclose information in regards to UFOs, do you think it'd put the pressure on the U.S. government to reveal some truth?
No, I think it would put pressure on the governments to get those other countries off their back. I think the United States has, and remember, Russia feels the same way, I'm sure, and so do the Chinese. It's not just the U.S. I'm sure one of the reactions to Roswell was, who are these guys working with? They're little guys on board. Maybe they're working with the Chinese. They're little guys. You don't know. When you don't know, you've got to be careful. And there are more of them than there are of us, let's face it. So you'd like to know who's talking to who about what, where, and when. And we don't.
Stanton, we're getting a lot of information from you, and I really appreciate you being with us, and it's amazing. I want to ask you about President Obama being elected again for President of the United States. Do you think he's privy to some of the secret information in regards to UFOs, or who really is in charge of the government?
That's a difficult question, because there is a certain amount of safety for any classified activity if the president doesn't have the details, because he has asked so many questions so many times. He talks to the press all the time. And what he doesn't know can hurt you. In other words, plausible deniability. Well, I didn't know about that. The one president I think did know something was the first George Bush, because he had been director of the Central Intelligence Agency. And as that, he certainly knew something. But I don't think he was telling his son or anybody else. I worked under security for 14 years. People say all these guys would have told their wives. Forget it. I never told my wife anything classified. I'd be crazy to do that. So who knows? But you don't want the president to know too much. You might tell him, you don't have a need to know for that, Mr. President. I'm sorry, but it's a vital matter.
Stanton, have you ever actually seen in person or on film, or or better yet, actually held an artifact that came from a UFO crash?
I've never seen an artifact from a crash. I've seen physical effects produced by saucers near the ground as one of the 4,000 physical trace cases that Ted Phillips has investigated. After you read the first 200, it's commonplace. They're seen near the ground, and when they leave, you find physical changes in the ground, but you don't find pieces of the craft.
You are often referred as the godfather of UFOlogy, and rightfully so. You know, assuming disclosure continues to elude us, what direction would you like UFOlogy to go, and what about your legacy?
I'd like to see more serious attention being given at universities, more courses being taught. There have been some. There have been a dozen PhD theses. That's not enough. There's plenty of work to keep a lot of people busy. And I'd like to see people start thinking in terms of what's the universe outside of the Earth like? And the notion that there are people who are never in contact with other beings from other planets because you can't get here from there, which is so much hogwash. We need to think, what does it mean if we're able to become part of a galactic federation? And, you know, that's the thing about the Betty and Barney Hill case. The base stars, Zeta 1 and Zeta 2 reticuli, constellation of Reticulum, got to go below the equator to see it. They're only 39.3 light years away. But from each other, they're only an eighth of a light year apart. They're next door neighbors. And they're also 1 billion years older than the sun. So can you imagine what their technology might be and how much more incentive they would have for interstellar travel than it is for us? Because we're out in the boonies, nobody next door. For them, incidentally, you can see people on planets around one looking over at the other. You can see it all day long, all night long, is the important thing, the other one. That changes your picture of what's going on. And so I think we need to start growing up to the notion of connectedness, of us not being at the top of the heap. I mean, Copernicus was wrong, so was Ptolemy. What we realize, we're not the big shots we'd like to think we are. Too bad. Maybe we can learn something from that.
Very insightful, Stanton. I really want to thank you for joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon. And if you could come back and answer some more questions in the future, that would be great.
Sure. And I should mention my website, www.stantonfriedman.com. It lists all my books, lists my schedule, lists my activities. So people say, where can I find out this? And I do get these kinds of questions. I say, go to my website, www.stantonfriedman.com.
Appreciate it, Stan. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I want to thank everybody from around the world that joined us for this exclusive interview right here in Third Phase of Moon. And stay tuned for more updates. And if you've captured anything amazing in regards to UFOs, contact us via Skype or Facebook, Third Phase of Moon. My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time.